Welcome to Cat Facts Funny. There is a subtle shift that happens in a home when someone new steps inside. It is not loud, and it is rarely acknowledged, yet it changes the atmosphere all the same. A different pair of footsteps crosses the floor. A new voice carries through familiar walls. The air rearranges itself around an unfamiliar presence. Most humans move through this transition socially, exchanging greetings, adjusting posture, filling silence. But your cat experiences it biologically. Long before introductions are made, long before anyone sits down, your cat has already begun observing. And sometimes, in the middle of that quiet observation, something unexpected happens. The cat approaches. The cat settles. The cat chooses. When a cat trusts a visitor, it is never accidental. The shift in territory. Cats are not merely animals who live in a home. They are animals who map it. Every room holds scent patterns, habitual movements, predictable sounds. Their world is constructed from repetition and familiarity. So when a visitor enters, the change is not just social, it is territorial. A new body carries a different rhythm, a different scent profile, a different internal state. To a cat, this is information that must be processed carefully. You may notice your cat disappear at first. This is not rejection, nor fear in the dramatic sense. It is assessment. Cats retreat in order to observe without being observed. From a distance, they study gait, vocal tone, spatial awareness. They measure how this new person occupies the room. Do they move abruptly, claiming space without noticing? Or do they adapt, softening into the environment they have entered? This period of watching is not passive. It is highly intelligent regulation. What cats are actually reading. It is tempting to imagine that cats sense whether someone is good or bad. But the reality is quieter and more precise. Cats read coherence. They detect whether a person's external behavior matches their internal state. If someone smiles while their shoulders remain tense, if their voice is soft but their movements are sharp, that inconsistency registers as unpredictability, and unpredictability feels unsafe. On the other hand, a visitor who simply sits, whose breathing is steady, whose movements are unforced, creates a different signal entirely. There is no urgency in their body, no leaning forward with expectation. They exist in the space without attempting to control it. To a cat, this absence of intrusion feels stabilizing. It is often the person who pays the least attention to the cat who is chosen first. The quiet test. At some point, the cat re-enters the room. Not dramatically, but deliberately. The body is relaxed yet alert. The tail may be neutral, the ears forward but not rigid. This is the beginning of what could be called the silent test. The cat moves within range, perhaps pretending indifference, yet fully aware of every micro-movement from the visitor. Will this person suddenly reach out? Will they stare directly, intensifying the moment? Or will they remain still, allowing proximity without possession? Cats value autonomy above affection. When a visitor respects that autonomy without knowing they are doing so, something shifts internally for the cat. The environment feels less charged. The unfamiliar presence begins to register as predictable. And predictability in the feline nervous system is synonymous with safety. The decision to approach. If the cat closes the remaining distance, the choice has already been made. To walk directly toward someone new is to lower defensive boundaries. To sit beside them is to reduce escape distance. And to climb onto their lap, particularly during a first meeting, is an extraordinary gesture of trust. This is not flattery. It is not performance. It is regulation. The cat's body has scanned this person's signals and found no threat, no chaotic undercurrent, no pressure. The visitor's internal rhythm feels aligned. Their energy does not spike unpredictably. Their presence does not demand engagement. In that moment, the cat allows vulnerability. And vulnerability, for an animal wired for survival, is never casual. Why it sometimes surprises the owner. Can be startling to watch your cat choose someone so quickly. especially if that same cat ignores extended family members or avoids friends who openly adore animals. There may even be a flicker of confusion or quiet jealousy. She never does that with anyone. But cats are not responding to social history. They are responding to present state regulation. An owner may be deeply loved, yet still carry stress patterns that the cat has adapted to over time. A visitor, arriving neutral and unattached, may feel calmer in that specific moment. Cats do not weigh loyalty the way humans do. They weigh stability, and sometimes the calmest nervous system in the room belongs to a stranger. Trust as the absence of pressure. One of the most misunderstood aspects of feline behavior is the belief that effort creates connection. In reality, visible effort often disrupts it. Leaning in too quickly, softening the voice unnaturally, extending a hand before invitation. These gestures introduce subtle instability. Trust for a cat is formed in the absence of pressure. It grows in stillness. It settles when nothing feels demanded. When a visitor instinctively understands this, or simply behaves in a naturally regulated way, the cat senses it. The body lowers. The tail rests more fully. The eyes soften. A temporary expansion of territory occurs, not because the visitor claimed it, but because the cat allowed it. Permission from a cat is always intentional. The meaning behind the moment. When a cat trusts a visitor, it reveals something profound yet quiet about that person's presence. Not that they are morally superior, not that they possess a mystical connection, but that, in that moment, they felt coherent. Their internal state aligned with their outward behavior. Their movements did not contradict their energy. Cats live by instinctual calibration. They survive by accurately reading tension and intention. When they choose someone new without hesitation, it is the result of dozens of micro-observations aligning in favor of safety. And perhaps that is why these moments feel meaningful to us. Because when an animal who owes us nothing, who is biologically wired to protect itself, decides to rest in someone's presence, it feels like recognition. Not social recognition, energetic recognition. When trust happens quickly. There are moments when the trust happens almost immediately, and those are often the most striking. A visitor enters, settles into a chair, and within minutes your cat crosses the room as if drawn by something invisible. No prolonged observation from the hallway, just a steady approach and a quiet decision to stay. When this happens, it can feel almost uncanny, as though something unspoken has been recognized. But quick trust does not mean shallow evaluation. It means the signals were clear. Cats are highly efficient readers of nervous systems. When a person's breathing is unforced, when their posture is grounded rather than performative, when their attention is present but not intrusive, the cat does not need extended analysis. The absence of internal noise is immediately perceptible. There is nothing conflicting to decode. Sometimes these visitors carry a kind of emotional neutrality. They are not trying to impress the cat, not trying to win it over, not even trying to be chosen. And in that lack of agenda, the cat senses freedom. Freedom from expectation. Freedom from pressure. In those rare moments, trust unfolds without friction. Not because the visitor did something special, but because they did not introduce anything destabilizing. And to a creature who survives by reading the smallest fluctuations in energy, that kind of clarity feels profoundly safe. So the next time your cat approaches a visitor unexpectedly, take a moment to notice what unfolded beneath the surface. Long before contact was made, your cat was studying rhythm, breath, posture, intention. They were measuring coherence, not charisma, stability, not charm. That quiet decision to sit beside someone was not impulsive. It was the natural alignment of one regulated nervous system finding another that felt steady enough to trust. And in the feline world, trust is the highest currency. It is never random. Thank you for spending this time with Cat Facts Funny, where we continue exploring the emotional psychology behind the bond you share with your cat. If this reflection offered a deeper understanding of those subtle moments that often go unnoticed, consider subscribing and joining us for the next exploration. There is always more happening beneath the surface, and together, we'll keep uncovering it.